Hey everyone, today we're going to jump into a small update to the Arakni list that I posted last week. I did a small primer on. There's actually been some notable changes to the deck. The biggest thing is that now we have introduced Pummel into the list. So there's a few reasons for that. The main reason is that Arakni currently doesn't have enough disruptive effects. While you are more of a fatigue list, you do run into some issues where outside of like leave no witnesses and surgical extraction, if your opponent isn't really in a range where they're going to deck and they can kill you pretty easily, there's pretty much like almost no incentive for them to block. And so because of that, we've actually introduced a few more disruptive effects into the deck. So we've actually included a race face, which is pretty good into dash and into Phi to some degree. Is also a pummel target, so we included this card as well. And it also can work somewhat well onto Briar. You can sometimes turn off fuses, but you can also turn off channel mount heroic if they're trying to keep it for an extra turn, or if they haven't even played it yet, they now can't. Because if they do, they won't even get to keep it for the next turn, which is pretty important for you as a Arakni player. So I think that this lets you be a little bit more proactive, lets you be a little bit more aggressive, and it kind of fills in some of the gaps in the deck. You also do have targets on Fiendl's Fighting Spirit and Last Ditch Effort, which is another inclusion. This is mostly here for matchups where you are going to fatigue, more in the sense that there's a risk that you can actually run out of cards. So matchups like Guardian, for example, would probably be the main use case for this, but it is a blue block 3 and you can pummel it if you want to, so there is some flexibility with it. So the cards that we've taken out are mainly just shreds. We're just down to blues now. The biggest issue is that if your opponent is not blocking in the first place, shred doesn't actually provide any additional value, whereas cut to the chase, you can at least pump your assassin attacks even if your opponent does not block them. And the damage difference between them is very negligible. It's only 1 point of value. While Shred does have the upside of working against Temper, there really isn't a whole lot of Temper that's very relevant in the meta, unless if I guess you're playing against like the Mechanoid Dash or I guess Warrior, for instance, with their chest piece. But of course, that's just not really enough effects to warrant running more than 3 copies, in my opinion. The blue is a block 3. That can still work just as fine against any temper equipment. So those are mainly the changes to the deck. We also have included that all you got. This is just going to be here to try to make the Runeblade and Phi matchup a little bit better for us. I think at this point the deck is kind of leaning towards having the strength against Runeblade, Phi, and Ranger, but only if you can keep that aggression up. For my most recent testing, it seems like you are able to beat all of those decks. Well, Ranger feels a little bit more consistent, but you always basically have to have a pummel target. You always have to have an arsenal disruptive effect, always have to have an on hit. And if you slip up on any of those effects, you pretty much lose the game if it also lines up with their power turn. So that is kind of the downside, but it's not bad for being like, you know, a brand new class, a tier 2 hero. It does feel pretty decent into the more mid-range matchups like Dash. It's felt fine, especially now with the inclusion of a race face and pummel. It's also felt good into Guardian. To some degree, Oldham feels pretty terrible, but Brava feels a little bit more manageable. And Icelander also feels pretty good if you are able to slowly grind out the game and try to fatigue them by banishing the red cards from their deck. So anything that deals arcane damage or any of their attack action cards like Fiendl's Fighting Spirit. If you're able to do that, then it actually does feel like it has a shot. So it's not terrible, it has a decent matchup spread. So we'll actually jump into a quick game so I can run through how exactly I play the deck. Awesome, okay, so we have Phi here. So against Phi, we're going to be running double Spider's Bite. We're going to prefer to go second if we have the option, although assuming with the Phi choosing, oh, okay, the Phi chose to go first, I believe. Okay, so this is really good for us, mainly because Spider's Bites are going to gain a lot of advantage over our opponent. Our opponent really can't block once turn 2 starts going, and that means that all of their attack action cards are going to get knocked down to 1 defense and then down to 0 defense if both of them hit. So makes it very difficult for our opponent to block. Our opponent's not blocking anyway, so Cut to the Chase can come out. We're going to bring in that all you got to basically refund free damage against Phoenix Flame, for instance, or sometimes there are 2 attacks in the deck, but and then we're going to bring in a race face because it sometimes does lots of work against Phi, and we're going to be cutting either Rob the Rich or Slay the Scholars. I think it is tough, but I do like having a little bit more aggression, especially going second, so I think we are going to cut Slay the Scholars, and we'll kick it off. So once again, we can block with our equipment if we're going second. Main reason why is because we're probably going to be cashing the effects anyway, so there's a little bit more of an incentive to use it on turn 1, although it seems like our best turn 2 play here is going to be using the Spider's Bite into CNC. We're really lucky we can do 2 Spider's Bites into CNC, and then our opponent's cards are basically going to block for 0. I think we're going to block with this blue here. See what else happens. Emberblade's going to come in. I think we're going to use that all you got. Not much of a reason to worry about refunding a card on turn 0, just because we're going to be drawing back up to 4 anyway, obviously. We'll see what else happens here. I think we're just going to line up the CNC Pummel. We could use the Spider's Bite here, but then that means that we can't Pummel on the same turn. Although I'm pretty sure my opponent just put their Phoenix Flame in their arsenal, so not entirely sure. But you can see here how having Pummel in the deck is a little bit more proactive into the aggro strategies. Okay, so we got 2 Lava Vein loyalties, and then we're still going to get the Pummel here, so that's really pretty solid for us. We trade pretty much our entire hand for their entire hand. Wow, okay. And I think the only thing... Oh no, they didn't recur the Phoenix Flame. So pretty much the only thing they can do is Arsenal here, which also works really well for us because now we can double Spider's Bite with the 4 cards in our hand and then line that up with Leave No Witnesses. Or we could play the Leave No Witnesses and then get to Arsenal Fighting Spirit, but I think we just need to keep the pressure on as hard as possible. I doubt my opponent's going to block this card. Okay. So that means that now there are 2 attacks now blocked for 0, and there's 3 blocks now blocked for 1. And we're going to leave Snatch on top, mainly because I think this card is hitting, so I would like to also remove that threat from their deck, as well as get 2 silver. We're going to stack... I don't think the pitch stack really is going to matter here. On the following turn, we can pitch in the Spider's Bite and Rob the Rich. So a solid 2-card hand for 6. That's going to threaten more banishes from our opponent. You are going to, I think, win a lot of games, mostly through the threats you're able to remove against Fi. Basically going to be what cards you're able to banish off the top. Like we said, we just banished Snatch, so imagine if we're able to banish an Art of War or a Spreading Flames. We effectively reduce a lot of damage in our opponent's deck. And the reason I'm not blocking here right now is because my opponent still has 3 cards, and because of that, there's still some really important on-hit effects that could come later on. So I would like to just get a little bit more information from my opponent, since we are trying to just keep, we are planning on keeping 2 cards. So I would like to wait till the back end of the chain before I commit cards to blocking. I think we're gonna let this flame through. I'm not planning on using Mask right now. So mainly because Rob the Rich doesn't really have a very solid on-hit against Fi. It's mainly there because it's a 5 damage attack as opposed to the 4 damage attack with Slay the Scholars. Okay, my opponent chose to draw a card. I think we're just going to block here, take 2, and then we're going to return 6, threaten another banish. We'll just bottom that, try to get our opponent to their second cycle a bit faster, although they do run Belittle, so sometimes it doesn't really matter. Okay. They're pretty much not going to have any hits with that card. It's just there because it's a little bit more efficient. Okay. We'll see what my opponent's turn is. We do have an option to keep our entire hand in Pummel Surgical, but it's going to be really difficult to hold on to. I think we are going to take the 6 here. And we'll see. I think if we want to keep our entire hand set up a little bit, it really depends on how strong my opponent has a turn. Okay, so they come Assault the Wound. Okay. Alright, well, we do have a little bit more information now, sadly. Oh, but they pitch it. I see. I think we're going to let this through. I kind of am interested in pitching the Surgical and the Eradicate using Double Spider's Bite into Leave No Witnesses to pretty much solidify our following turn. And then after that, we're going to have Pummel and Arsenal. So I really like that as like a more of like a setup tempo play to really start to like take cards from our opponent, even though they don't want to be blocking is fine, and then still start to come in on that end game here as they are at 24, and Pummel does really gap close a lot. I think that's the most impressive part about the card. Okay, so our opponent did use Mask there. That's for Lava Burst. Really not much point. So now, I mean, we do have the option of blocking with 2 cards. And that does seem... I think that's probably the correct play here. Okay. My guess is they have a second lava burst. If they do, I think what we're going to be doing is we're going to block with the leave no witnesses and maybe arsenal the surgical extraction, or we could block with both. It's a very, very solid possibility here. My opponent doesn't have mass though, so it does seem pretty good on our end. I would really like to keep surgical though. That card works very well against Phi. I think we're gonna try setting up just a little bit. If we do leak 3 damage, that may be a misplay on our part, but there wasn't really more important on hit to worry about. We also still have our equipments up and we still have Goliath Gauntlet. I would also like to point out, like, this is like one of like the hardest matchups, right? Like Phi currently is just an absolute force to be reckoned with. So I think the fact that we're even able to do like this okay, to feel like we have a little bit of agency, I just kind of want to like push the point that you know, I do think the deck does work pretty well. I think we're gonna give these 2 cards here. Seems like my opponent has a little bit of an off turn. That is not a little bit of an off turn. I think we're gonna be blocking like this. So, we're gonna send a Spider's Bite. We're gonna use Tunic, and then we're gonna crack Goliath Gauntlet, and that probably should hit our opponent. I think our opponent would pretty much have to ship their entire hand here to not get hit by surgical, but they are very incentivized to block the surgical, so I do have to think to myself, so I want to bottom this card because it may not hit, and I think I do because I really don't want my opponent drawing that in the following hand, but we will see. Okay, opponent probably has a D-react here, but I still would like to use Mask. Yep, that's about what I expected. So we do burn Mask, but we do get back with the silver on the following turn, so could be worse. We do get Shuko though, and getting it this early when we're still about half of our life total, I think is pretty important. So, would be nice to have Pummel there, but you know, only so much you can do. And we're gonna let this through and then block whatever has go again. Okay, so it did not matter. That's okay. I think at this point the game is gonna start to slip a little bit. Once again, it is difficult once you start to run out of disruptive attacks. We're not able to keep the pressure on. Our opponent had a really fantastic answer to the surgical, which is pretty unfortunate, and I think that's probably going to throw us back behind here, and we're probably not going to be able to win, unfortunately. I think it's just going to be too hard to climb back in. We're going to keep this because it's just better value blocking for or attacking for 8 here. My opponent isn't going to be blocking out these cards anyway. I was very surprised to see they even ran Sink Below, but I guess that probably makes sense against us, unfortunately. We will send the Fleece of Frail. And we probably just lose at this point. My opponent's 4-card hands always will threaten lethal. If it has Art of War, then it'll be even more. We'll send Lava Burst to the bottom. I don't want them drawing that, because if they draw that, then we like definitely lose. We'll see what they want to block. If they have another D-react, then we just, you know, probably lose here, which is unfortunate. Okay. That's tough, you know. That Phi also has like the slots to even have better defensive tech, so we wagered a lot on that hand and lost pretty hard, unfortunately. The good news is that the second one doesn't come in for 2. They don't have Shuko. So I think here we're going to be blocking with Fighting Spirit to regain back 1 life. And if we also block with the Mask of Perdition, then we don't take any damage from the double strike. We also buffer a life point against the Phoenix Flame, although I'm going to wait for the Phoenix Flame to come through first. Just in case there's a 0 for 4 that I would rather block, like this one. Although they could come in with Snatch, so I think we're just going to block with the Fleece of Frail. Very unfortunate that I got shut down. Alright, Assault the Wound. I think we just have to take it, unfortunately. I don't think we have much of an option here, because blocking 4 sounds nice, but then we're definitely dead. We need to regain a little bit of pressure here. There is a chance that Erase Face actually does shut down my opponent's hand if, for instance, they have Lava Burst, if they have Spreading Flame, if they're relying a lot on using Ember Blade on their turn. But it could also just be like 0 for 3, so yeah, we'll see. Fantastic hand if we're able to keep 2 cards, mainly because, okay, so yeah, like we said, here's Spreading Flames, but don't believe my opponent's gonna be able to do much with this. They can't, if they swing Ember Blade, their turn is over. And their Spreading Flames isn't gonna get any plus effects on this turn. We're able to block the Mask of Perdition here. It doesn't have Go again, and they're gonna Arsenal, so I think we just have to send the Pummeled CNC. It's very tough. Feels very bad going to 1 against Phi. But we're gonna regain so much tempo, I think this would be kind of difficult for them to... My opponent says no blocks here, they go to 7. Which means there's like actually plenty of avenues to keep a 2-card hand that starts threatening lethal. My assumption is that they arsenal like Art of War or something. Maybe a D-React, unfortunately. If it's just a D-React, then this is a really bad hand to be keeping. You should not have taken the damage. Well, it was Rise from the Ashes. That is relevant. We'll see though. Pretty much any 3-card hand we're just dead to. And they'll come with 2, 3 attacks, so you have to block. Oh, we do have that all you got, so we do at least get to refund a card. We'll see though. If it's Art of War, then oh, it's Belittle. It's like even worse. We'll block here. I think our best draw is going to be probably... Oh, I think we just lose actually. Oh, we'll have to block with Tunic. And they use Phi's ability, I think. I think our best draw here is going to be probably like Fighting Spirit or any card that threatens lethal for my opponent after he can Spider's Bite, because I think we're going to be drawing 2 cards here, which is really good. The question is whether or not... Oh, we're just dead. Alright, that's fine. Bummer. Very difficult. We'll jump into one more quick game. We're against Briar here. I think we're gonna still choose to go second. Most of the disruptive effects are really important going second, and they don't really do as much going first, even though it does seem nice to deny Briar the ability to maybe like set up a embodiment of lightning, Arsenal Pass, make a rune chant Arsenal Pass, play CMH and Pass. I think it's a little bit too important that we start threatening cards immediately from them. So much like the other aggro matchups, are going to be cutting out red cut to the chase. We're not going to be blocking very often. We're going to bring in Erase Face. We're going to bring in that all you got. And we're also going to be cutting Rob the Rich in this instance. I think that Slay the Scholars is actually going to have a relevant on hit against Briar. So just keep it like this and make sure to bring in Arcane Lantern and let's roll. The upside of the Crown of Dominion list is that it's actually it's a lot more potent to have Arsenal Disruption, and with Arakni you have access to 6 cards that threaten the arsenal, and not only can they not block with their headpiece, but they also can't filter their arsenal like they would with Crown of Providence, so your first Arsenal Disruption is always going to matter against Briar. So our opponent leads off with Sonata. Let's see if they pitch into it. I think out of all the cards in our hand, we would like to keep Erase Face if possible. Our opponent's going to get 1 card. We're going to pitch our blue to prevent it. They added Snatch to their hand, which is interesting. I think we may be forced to block with the Erase Face here, but we will see. We also maybe could have actually kept the blue, just because I'm not sure how much damage my opponent's going to try to push with physical, but really does depend. Okay. So, seems like they were just trying to set up a rune chant, try to push a damage and pass. So our turn is going to be pretty simple, just coming in with Spider's Bite. Now the real question is, do we want to play the Fleece the Frail, use Whispers into Erase Face? I think that's probably correct here. We can leave Overload on top since it meets a condition. We're not trying to really actively remove threats yet. We don't know if our opponent's going to be very keen on blocking. We'll see. My opponent could also be running D-Reacts, so it's very surprising in the Fine matchup, but honestly not that surprising. I do know they run them for Guardian, and like specifically Bravo and stuff, so may not be too surprised to see them here as well. And then we will send the Erase Face, still with the Spider's Bite effect, since my opponent didn't block with any cards, so Erase Face is probably going to hit. Okay, opponent takes the damage. Our following turn can just be sending Fighting Spirit off a 2-card hand, or it could be... Could also send Surgical, but I don't think you should be sending Surgical unless if you also have a way to push the damage. I think that was a mistake I made last game. Well, we did have ways to push the damage, it was just lined up very, very well. Was not expecting Sink Below, you know. It was the one out they had for it. Okay, playing Earthlore Surge. Let's see what they follow up with. Probably gonna be like Snatch or something. Oh, Can't Crackle. Let's see. If we take the 8, what is our hand doesn't look that good. This also doesn't have Go again. Maybe what we do is we block with these, and then we just send the Plunder the Pour back, try to get our silver back up to 2. Alright. We don't get a silver, unfortunately. Our opponent does get their cash in. Hopefully we're able to keep 2 cards so we can Spider's Blade and Leave No Witnesses. Although Spider's Blade doesn't matter that much because also it's their non-attacks that get buffed, so maybe just keeping 1 card to swing, Leave No Witnesses is enough. We're gonna block for 3 on this one. They may be flashing and Channel Not Heroic. Okay. The nice thing is we do have the Then All You Got, which is really solid. I think we have to pull the trigger here. Yep. So there is also utility in running that All You Got. Oh man, this has Go again, doesn't it? Brutal. I think. Oh man, I don't know. This feels like kind of we're punished regardless of what we do. C-Mage is very hard to beat. Wow, into the Swarming. Well, we'll see what their last card is. Because it's a question of whether or not they want to pitch to Rosetta. Okay, if they don't pitch to Rosetta, which actually does mean that we're going to be threatening some cards from them. But if they just have like a, Force of Nature, and just block with that card, nothing else happens. Would have been nice to draw a Pummel style effect here. Like, you'd be able to shut down the same H turn pretty hard. So I think that's where we're kind of at with, oh, okay, they can just, yeah. I think we lose. It's hard, you know. See how good their turn is. I mean, they did cash in Tunic that early, but it also does seem like we're not going to have a whole lot of turns. We may even be dead by the time Tunic comes back up. So I think what we've learned about this deck is that the aggro decks that I think it would normally have a good matchup into are just like a little too overtuned at the moment, you know, because it seems like it naturally works pretty well against decks that can't block very well, that have a lot of 2 blocks, that want to be more aggressive, that aren't incentivized to block, that can fall apart very easily to banishing, so like threat removal, that don't have very solid second cycles, so it'd be like the aggro decks for instance. So it feels like that's what this deck kind of wants to prey on a little bit, but the issue is that the aggro decks, you know, have like Rosetta Thorn, they have like Art of War and Phi. So the problem is that you normally, I feel like in a vacuum, in like the head of LSS, you would be doing okay in these matchups. But the problem is that they just like steamroll you because like their cards are just so good. Like you, like outside of like Leave No Witnesses, which even like that's like your best effect, right? And even that's like not evasive damage. They just get like Rosetta Thorn, so it's, you know, so difficult to. Oh, this is interesting. Do we care about blocking this? I think there's a chance that our arsenal may be worth more than theirs. I think. Actually, I'm tempted to give them the arsenal. That may be super incorrect, but. Give it a shot. We did get Eradicate. So we have a 1-card hand now that swings 4 and threatens to banish. They don't have any more equipment. And now we can block for 6 from hand. So I think depending on what they got in their arsenal, we may have actually benefited more. They do have a high blue count, mostly because of Jailmount Heroics. So there's a chance they like got like Autumn's Touch or like a Weave Earth. Yeah, they got Autumn's Touch in arsenal. Okay, that's sick. But I mean, it still absolutely wrecks us because it comes in for 8. We can at least block this out. And it doesn't have Go again. Jailmount Heroics gone. So we may have an out here. It's not gonna be good enough to win, I think, but let's send it to the bottom. I don't think we're even gonna be able to force them in a second cycle, unfortunately. What yellow hits? They actually do have a lot of yellows, but they're not even gonna let it hit. Okay. I mean, block with Fiendals and send like Blue Slay the Skyways, but I think this is a hand where we're just gonna block out. And we can maybe Arsenal Pummel, depending on how crucial it is to block with it. Okay. Wow. What are you gonna do? I think we just block like this and we go up 1 life. It's probably better than Pummel and Arsenal. We're just gonna hope that they kind of break on this hand. We'll see. Probably not though. That's the hard part, right? Is ideally you would also be able to manipulate your opponent's deck so we could like keep them off the Sea Mage, but whenever we, I think twice, we saw the top card of their deck, it was Overload, and then they destroyed the Sea Mages, so it is kind of difficult because also you do run into that issue where deck manipulation doesn't really matter because they're only looking for maybe like 2 or 3 cards to actively get rid of, and assuming that they just like, I don't know, draw them before you get to manipulate their deck, then the effect doesn't really work, right? So we're gonna get Red Minnowism. Yeah, probably in a very bad spot here. I think we have to block with 1 card because there's a chance that like their next card is like Snatch. It's gonna come in for 10, I think. Yeah, it would come in for 10. So we really need to be able to block it. The nice thing about Briar is that even on these bigger hands, she's normally not able to use all of her cards. So even on this, like, I have the ability to, I can probably be confident that Leave No Witnesses is gonna have some impact here. If I'm able to keep it, which probably won't happen because, you know, my guess is like, I'd be surprised if they can't even threaten lethal this turn. Okay, yeah. Let's go again. They just pitch this last card of Thorn, like, we're in a really bad spot. Block for 6 and see what happens. It's even worse than I imagined. Sea Mage is gone. But the life total deficit is just too vast, you know. And Pummels do stock your blocking, you know, so you always have that to keep in mind. They do give us rounds on me though, which in my opinion, a lot of people are playing rounds on me. I think it's like Tech against Spy or something, and that card works so well for us because the more options we have, you know, the greater chance we have to, you know, like Pummel Surgical like this. I think this is how we have a chance to win. Is there any reason to block the second card? Maybe not. But this can be perfect. This can be right on Tunic. We can pop our Goliath Gauntlet, so our opponent maybe wants to overcommit some cards. We can leave Force of Nature on top because not only is it a hit, it's also a very strong card. We will also Pummel here. Oh, okay. Oh, jeez. I don't really know. I think we take the Belittle. Well, Snatch for 6. We are able to return with Plunder the Poor and Arsenal Pummel. But, you know.
Yeah, water.
I kind of want them to give me that card. This rounds on me is so much better when you are the one who's like in the tight spot, in my opinion.
You feed me.
Like arsenaling blue Pummel here just like kind of feels bad. We're probably not gonna have an opportunity to play it, especially because they're gonna get to easily keep 5 cards here. So probably don't get to do anything, unfortunately. We did hit another Force of Nature, which is nice. Oh, they did some. Jeez. I think we block the Pummel here. I really thought they were going to commit more cards to blocking the Surgical, but it did line up pretty awkwardly where like their hand just like wasn't very good. I think I would like to keep a 2-card hand that can Surgical, but we're going to block down to that, so just in case if there's like not an opportunity to use it. It was pretty unfortunate that the one hand we had that lined up really disruptive attacks was also the hand that just didn't do anything against them. Like their hand was just so garbage that they were like fine not doing anything with it. They just like said no blocks, so it was awkward because it also meant that the Goliath Gauntlet didn't really do too much there. Obviously, we would like to keep a 2-card hand, but it's probably not going to happen. My opponent's drew. Now they're up to 5 cards. Means that Thorn is online, means that another non-attack means that they get an embodiment token. So our ideal hand is we keep a 2-card hand that can blue Pummel CNC off a Tunic. That does mean we're able to block 7 damage this turn. So if our opponent presents anything more than that, then we just lose. Most of their hand is gone, so I'd be interested to see. And it was also blue Earth Lore Surge as opposed to like a red one, so there may be a chance we actually do get to keep the CNC here. I've been surprised my opponent hasn't used Thorn that often. I think it could have been, you know, a little bit stronger. We'll see. We will see. The only issue is that they get to Thorn here, so probably a very good chance that we do have to block with these cards. The issue is as soon as you have to block with 1 card, we're just kind of like out of things to do. Yeah, alright. So that gets our hand. And this has Go again, which means they can also use Thorn. Tough spot to be in. But they are in their 2nd cycle, I believe. Yeah, maybe we should have arguably kept the blue because we knew that Thorn was coming afterwards, and we could have prevented more damage that way. Because now, if they're able to turn on Thorn next turn, we just lose. So I think that was probably misplay on our part. I don't think it matters. But you can always have tighter play, right? So yeah, we don't have Fighting Spirit, so if they have a way to turn on Thorn, we unfortunately just lose the game. Yeah, we definitely just lose the game. Alright. I don't think... I mean, the issue is that we would be dead anyway, right? We have to... even if we did block correctly... Oh my god. Alright. Okay, well they whiffed, but as long as they can turn on Thorn, we lose. They could actually just, like, not have an attack action card here. Okay, awesome. Sucks. Man, if we just blocked a little bit better. Yeah, if we just blocked a little bit better. Oh man. Oh well. I'm ready for Thorn to go. So if you guys want to play Briar this ProQuest season, help her like get the hell out of the format, so I don't ever have to look at that weapon again. That'd be so tight. What did we learn? So we learned that Arakni suffers from very poor on hits, not having enough disruption. The value of the cards are good, but probably not good enough to keep up with the current state of the game. But this is a class that was introduced in the supplemental set, so it probably will continue to get better, probably will continue to get support. I think after trying this, I think Pummel feels pretty impactful. Maybe 9 is too many. We did see a lot of them, and they don't always line up with your hands. The main reason just for trying out 9 is to test all of the copies first, so you always have them available, always seeing if they're relevant to what you want to do, and then you can slowly cut back afterwards. So Maybe we start cutting back on a couple of Pummels for better defensive tech, maybe like a Sigil of Solace, because Sigil of Solace has been pretty good in that matchup, as well as Phi. But that's it for today. So let me know if you've tried out the deck, what you think. What do you think could use some tuning? Because definitely not there yet. But until next time, thank you for watching.